Breaking news from Edinburgh at dusk. Eamon stabbed on Prince Street, just steps from Waverley Station. Witnesses say 6 masked men speaking in a foreign language vanished before police arrived hours later. Westminster confirmed a new transfer order. Hundreds of asylum seekers from DOA redirected to a Glasgow, part of the latest Channel Service. 1,500 arrivals in just 4 days. Do Scotland. This wasn't coincidence. It was a message. They sent boats to do and knives to our doorsteps. By nightfall, candles turned into crowds and Scotland began to rise. At noon, Parliament sat full, not with answers but avoidance. Nigel Farage stood, a single sheet of paper in hand. As a matter of national security, he began. An illegal immigrant from Iran, Belliavato, have arrived by boat, has been arrested in the north of England on tourism charges. Since Monday speech, 1,000 undocumented young men have crossed the channel. Starmer didn't respond. He just turned the page. No apology, no update, no plan. Moments later, Treasury logs revealed £2.7 million diverted from Scottish councils to migrant support operations. Pressed for answers, a junior minister repeated the line that now defines Westminster rule. London decides you. That was the last answer Scotland was willing to accept. From every road and village, over 200,000 people flooded George Square. No speeches, no slogans, only flags held tight in the cold wind. Police lines formed, helmets down, batons drawn. A woman shouted, "Protect our streets," and 1,000 voices answered. At 1:17 p.m., glass shattered, barriers fell, traffic stopped. By nightfall, 240 detained, 31 officers injured. Drone footage showed police lines collapsing in daylight. Officials called it public tension under review, but the people had no better. It wasn't a protest, not yet a riot. It was the point where patience ends and obedience dies. Bimmerning George Square lay silence beneath grey skies. Police vans line its streets, engines idling. The government called it order restored. Scotland called it occupation. At 8:42 a.m. POLICE, Scotland released Thaleen cleared by Westminster. Situation under control. But nothing was. Leaked Home Office memos showed £4.60 million approved overnight for containment and perception management. Every message from Hollywood to London was market pending clearance. Even press briefings required Downing Street approval. This wasn't policing anymore. It was control. By noon, the resistance took shape. Parents gathered outside schools demanding safety. Veterans stood guard at council doors, medals glinting in day. Truckers blocked Dundee's ring. Shopkeepers in Aberdeen boarded up shattered windows, marking them with hand-painted signs. We remember 3-1 Starmer's ministers spoke of unity as another 2.7 million vanished. Film Scottish welfare budgets. They called it balance. The people called it. For the first time in decades, Scotland stopped asking for answers and started counting the course. Morning broke, quiet but not calm. London Trito controlled the story. The word riot vanished from headlines. Checkpoints are put on highways. Phones with. The Home Office called it. The people called it fear. South of the border, BBC anchors read identical scripts. In Glasgow, a presenter refused and her broadcast was caught mid-sentence. That silence spoke louder than any report. By 10 o'clock a.m. Star met Police Scotland behind closed doors. 2 more migrant hotels were approved. No notice, no vote, no voice. He thought silence meant control, but silence can be louder than power. By noon, workers walked off sites. Students left classrooms. No chats, only and in those eyes, it wasn't rage anymore. It was. Barricades rose higher, stations and bridges guarded. The government called it safety. The people knew better. At 100 p.m. a mother in Dundee held a sign, "Protect our children." By sunset, hundreds of windows carried the same words. 5:30. Veterans marched through George Square again. No slogans, just footsteps. The government called they called themselves. When police moved to clear their crowd, one officer stepped aside and whispered, "Not today." The clip was deleted but not forgotten. 40 million views, 40 million hearts awake. London ruled by fear, but fear had changed sides. At dawn, the headlines read, "Order restored. Communities united." But outside, shops stayed shut. Flags hung at half-mast. Bus stops carried a new poster, "We serveth people." The message spread faster than any law. Farmers joined factory workers. Church bells rang not for mourning but for memory. In Aberdeen. Dock workers refused to unload government cargo. If London can't feed all families, they said it won't feed its. That night, a journalist leaked the truth. 9.4 million cut in 3 days for emergency asylum housing. And then it became clear this was never about migrants. It was about silence. Scotland wasn't rebelling. It was remembering. By dusk, London panicked. Internet speeds dropped. Post vanished. The Home Office blamed technical faults. Everyone knew better. People went back to paper and ink, letters, flyers, word of mouth. Churches became safe houses for truth. At 9 p.m., another clip went viral. A palace officer removed his helmet and said, "We serve the people, not the protocol." Deleted again. But too late. 50 million views. 50 million heartswake. Scotland had run out of Asia. London had run out of control. The next morning, markets opened in the pound fell 6%. Energies, Europe froze its trades. Inside Parliament, Starr called an emergency session. Half the seats were empty, the rest silent. An advisor whispered, Prime Minister, Scotland is gone. He meant politically. It sounded like a eulogy outside Westminster. Hundreds stood in the rain, flags folded against their chests. One voice rose above the storm. We are Britain, not your border. No one stopped him. No wondered. That night, hundreds of civil servants in Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Perth resigned. They weren't protesting, they were leaving. For the first time, London didn't face rebellion. It faced abandonment. Dawn came soft and no sirens, no smoke, just rain on. People swept glass from Thest streets, reopened shops, hung white cloths from windows. Not as surrender, but as peace dotted Hollywood. Children laid flowers where it began. Every note carried the same words. For Scotland, for everyone. By noon, the Union flagging still. No anthem, no speech. On Leesland's heavy, human, London watched, and it could not censor that. What began with one attack had become Allison. Unity without respect is. The nation stood between forgiveness and fury, and for the first time in generations, truth didn't need to shout. It had come home. This is. If you stand for truth, subscribe, because this story isn't ending. It's only beginning. Stay thoughtful, stay aware, take care of one another.